Okay, let's be real. The world of AI is just exploding with new tools every single day. It's a lot, but which ones do you actually need? In this explainer, we are going to cut right through all that noise and give you a super simple but powerful way to think about building your perfect AI toolkit. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by all the AI apps out there, you are definitely not alone. Trying to figure out the right tool for the right task can take months of just frustrating trial and error. But you know what? It really doesn't have to be that way. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll meet the everyday AI assistants, the ones you'll probably use most often. Then, we'll dive into the specialist tools, the ones that are designed for really specific jobs. And finally, we'll put it all together so you can build your perfect AI toolkit.
All right, let's start with the tools you're going to be reaching for day in and day out. You should think of these as the Swiss Army knives of AI. We're talking about the three big general-purpose chatbots: ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude. First up, of course, is the one that started it all, ChatGPT. And while other tools might be just as powerful in some ways, ChatGPT is still the king in one absolutely crucial area: obedience.
So, what do I actually mean by obedience? Well, it means that when you give ChatGPT a really complex prompt with a long list of instructions, it's the most likely one to follow every single one. You see, other models might try to get clever and skip a step, thinking they know better. ChatGPT, it just does exactly what you ask it to do, which it turns out is incredibly valuable for complex tasks. And this quote just illustrates the point perfectly. Here's a real-world test. Someone used a complex hiring rubric, and ChatGPT followed every single instruction to the letter. Gemini's output? It looked good on the surface, but it had quietly skipped a few rules. So the key takeaway here is for any task where precision really, really matters, you should probably start with ChatGPT.
Okay, so while ChatGPT wins on obedience, our next tool, Google's Gemini, has a totally different superpower: multimodality. And in simple terms, that just means it's the best at understanding all different types of media. Just look at this table. It tells the whole story. Gemini is the only one of the big three that can natively process text, images, audio, and video. This is huge. It means it can literally watch a video or listen to a podcast, while the other tools need these complicated workarounds. I mean, just think about what that makes possible. You could give it a video recording of a meeting, the slide deck from that meeting, and a photo you snapped of the whiteboard notes, and then just ask it to summarize the key decisions in a follow-up email. Right now, no other tool can handle that mix of media all at once. Okay, rounding out our big three everyday assistants is Claude from Anthropic, and its superpower is all about producing higher quality first drafts. That means its initial output is often much, much closer to a finished product. And this superpower really shines in a couple of key areas. First, coding. A lot of developers agree that Claude just writes code that works on the first try more often than its competitors. And second, writing. It's exceptionally good at matching your unique style and tone, which makes its drafts sound way more human from the get-go. This little story says it all, really. A user needed to export some data, and their own support team said, nope, you need a developer for that. So they just described the problem to Claude, and it wrote a working script in a language the user didn't even know. That's the power of a quality first draft. Okay, so we've met the generalists. Now let's look at the specialists, because sometimes you don't need a Swiss Army knife, you need a scalpel. These are the tools that are designed to do one specific job and do it exceptionally well. But first, a quick but really important distinction. A foundational model, something like GPT-4, is kind of like the powerful engine of a car. A specialist app, like Perplexity, takes that engine and builds a whole specialized vehicle around it. In this case, like a high-speed race car built specifically for search. And this brings us to a really clear mental separation you should make. The general chatbots, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they're for reasoning. You use them to help you think, brainstorm, and create. Perplexity, on the other hand, is for fetching. You use it when you need a specific, verifiable fact, and you need it, like, right now. So the key here is to stop thinking of Perplexity as a replacement for ChatGPT and start thinking of it as a supercharged Google search. When you need a quick, verifiable fact, like what was the final score of last night's game, or who won the Oscar for Best Picture in 2022, use Perplexity to get a fast, sourced answer. Our final specialist tool is called notebooklm, and its superpower is giving you grounded answers. What that really means is it has this unique ability to, well, not make things up.
Here's how it works. You create what's called a walled garden. You upload your own source documents, your research, your notes, whatever, and it will only answer questions based on that information. Because it has no outside knowledge of the internet, it literally can't hallucinate, where it just makes up facts that aren't in your sources. And this is a perfect real-world workflow. For any task where accuracy is way more important than creativity, this is invaluable. You can upload a draft of something you wrote in all your sources and then ask it, hey, are there any claims in this draft that aren't supported by my research? It basically acts as your own personal fact-checker against your own materials. So we've met the everyday assistants and the specialists. Now, for the fun part, let's put it all together and figure out how to build your perfect AI toolkit. And this slide right here is your ultimate cheat sheet. This brings our entire mental model together in one place. Whether you need the precision of ChatGPT, the media handling of Gemini, or the polished drafts of Claude, you now have a framework. And for those specialized tasks, you've got the fact-finding power of Perplexity and the fact-checking of notebooklm. Okay, so this is the big question, right? Now that you have this clear understanding of what each tool does best, does that mean you have to go out and pay for all of them? And the answer is a very clear no. Honestly, the best advice is to pick the one everyday assistant whose superpower best matches the work you do. So if your job involves a lot of complex, multi-step processes, start with ChatGPT. If you're constantly dealing with different media types, try Gemini. Get the paid version of that one tool and get really, really good at it. Only add another tool when you face a specific, recurring problem that you know one of these specialists can solve. And that kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. We've just spent all this time building a specialized toolkit, but is this the future? Or will one AI model eventually become so powerful that it just masters all of these superpowers and will only need one tool to do it all? I guess only time will tell.